I apologise that Kimba probably got the rough end of the stick in the state of the play film there, Peter, but
yeah,
that's what you get for being the big boys in the playground.
yeah, I had to laugh a bit, but anyway.
Oh, I reckon you didn't laugh that hard, but
yeah.
Of course you are the big boys in the playground.
Yeah, well look, people make their views and that's their right to, but we've always tried to play it fair and strongly, both on and off the field, so.
But at least you know what people are saying about Kimba. No one's going to stab you in the back.
Well, and look, I'm a person that if you've got something to say, you say it to one another's face and be, you know, be respectful in how you say it, of course.
Yeah.
Because I'm a believer, you know, you don't throw stones over the fence, get your own house in order and,
that's right.
you know, and then sit around the table and discuss what issues you have.
That's right.
Yeah. I think on that note that Port would probably kill me if they were watch this, but they are being very, very depleted. And unless they can get an injection, they were getting a large injection of players through the Clean Seas situation, but that seems to have dropped off, not necessarily the business itself, but people employed by Clean Seas seems to have dropped off. Used to have players come up from Lincoln, that seems to have dropped off a bit, so it ebbs and flows.
Well, it depends on how much money there is to spend.
And it does ebb and flow. One year you get lots of people want to come and play, and next year you only get one or two, so.
Prime brings it in to Davey, he's got it on the 50, he rolls, looks inboard, oh, he's gone the barrel.
Go on the barrel, that's a long barrel too.
It's going to bounce, how's it going to go? Oh.
A lot of bodies there at centre half forward for Ports. Yeah. Ball up.
Ball up. Oh, he's going to go up here. Cooper Llewellyn again for Ports.
Riley Maitland breaks through, clears the area out to young Nick Francis on the wing.
Dave.
Benny Clements attacks the ball strongly, picks it up.
Nice pick up. Oh, good ball movement from Kimba.
Darcy Noel again, half forward, takes the mark. Into the goal square, Joel Fitzgerald takes a mark.
Done that before.
Yes.
Done that many a times as Joel. And I think this year, it's through the stats, I think he could be up for his 1,000th goal this year,
wow.
Joel Fitzgerald. He's been a prolific goal scorer.
That's a good effort. I'll probably put this one in the book.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if he misses this. He likes kicking goals.
Ooh,
Beautiful kick by Joel, so goal to Kimber into the breeze.
Is this being recorded now?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, like, you know, Port's had to, there's an argument that they bought that premiership a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
When they beat you.
But
they're all locally grown.
Yeah, and the argument that was put up to me by Ed Hunt, who was one of their staunch supporters come timekeeper, that if they didn't buy some players, there'd be no team for us to play.
Which is probably a good point.
It was an excellent point. Excellent point. Like there was a lot of, they bought the premiership, fair enough, but in the meantime, there'd have been no team to play if they hadn't have trucked them home from Lincoln and Adelaide.
And also, everyone says that year was exceptionally good. Everyone beat everyone.
Yes, yeah. And Port certainly bought good players, but at any rate, good luck to them.
But it's good for footy. I mean,
Oh, yes. Well, Kimber was winning hand over fist, thrown in with a few Eastern Rangers, and Port were nothing and came home to take the bacon, and yes. Their ends a saga, but this year they were sadly depleted, and they will be in the future. But anyway,
but it's good. It is good for footy though. Money going to smaller clubs for better competition,
and it's about numbers and about competition.
That's right. So in fact, if the AFL even sent money that they have for fostering the game to those smaller clubs to even pay for the travel of home, but the rule would be homegrown. That would be better for footy.
Oh, I think it is.
But of course, there is a lot of money around, particularly in the country these days.
Oh, well, no, the last 30 years there's been big money in the country. Oh, yeah.
Has it hurt football?
Well, I don't know about hurting football. No, in the country, it's made the football better in the country.
Yeah. Particularly the smaller clubs, so they keep up with the bigger clubs.
Yeah, Yeah, what they used to do, of course, is you owned a bloody cattle station and you ran and so you would take 3 cows and they could have the calves and this type of thing. So yeah, they found ways to make ends meet. Yeah,
That's right. Yeah. So it's been good for country footy, hasn't it?
yeah, I think so. Whereas you get a team like Mundalla, who have never paid their players at all and they've been a very successful club.
Very.
Yeah.
Well, as Neil said the other day, money's actually been good for country football because it makes for a better competition. That 2017 when Ports won, everyone beat everyone that year.
Paying players, you're saying? Yeah, and you know, it's probably something that's only just come in the last 5 years or so, and it's far worse. You look at the Hills and River Murray and places like that. You know,
Money actually hurts football in, say, the Hills. Division 1 is devoid of any interest.
yeah, their leagues are going for quality, whereas if you've got the right thing, paying players for quantity. So
It's who you're paying to come and play for you. In the Hills, you're talking about anyone who's a good footballer.
Hey, this is Johnny Boris from the Torrens Valley Football Club.
Yes, and he joins us live in the studio on 88.9 FM Hills Radio in the football hour.
Yeah, I'll fucking I'll take any game I've ever had at this fucking footy club over what I've seen in the first group. That's saying something, boys. Come on, I'm telling you, I've been here fucking 6 years. Come on, let's run. And hell, I've fucking been over backwards. This club's been over backwards. You can't fucking hold your hands out every week. We look after you. We fucking turn the lights on. We cook meals for you. We fucking do everything. Your trainers are working their asses off. And for what? For that? For that? Come on! Ready? You go and have a fucking chat, because I'm telling you here and now, guys, it fucking ends here. Come on! Let's go. I'll deal with it.
Come on, boys. A margin of 91 points here, Goldie.
7 minutes gone in the final term. So the Magpies will look to extend that over 100 if they can. Not what you expect in the grand final rematch, that's for sure.
Tom Walker comes back here to Walkley.
Mazzoni.
Going back to Mazzoni. Backs the ball back. Here's big Daniel Roberts and been impressive tonight. Look like he breaks away like you're saying. Bolt.
Brilliant.
Drives it in. Hooligan! Oh! Big Das! Oh!
You going to stick with Torrens Valley? Yeah, well, for the time being. Yeah, this year at least. Yeah, maybe not this year, maybe next year we can grand final.
If they're around.
If they're around, yeah. If the clubs are around. Yeah, I know, it's a bit...
I know Jeffrey Mount Lofty, you know, that enjoys cheering you on.
Player decided to go along the Kennedy grassy mound wing. Up they fly there. A big leg there on the Roberts boys. Comes to the ground. And a bit of listening. So walks in. Then he went there, matched and he cuts over the bandit on a good hip and shoulder. Strong tackling there at the moment. Stacks on the middle. Looks like he's a little bit of push and shove. Oh, yeah. Oh, a little bit more again. A little bit more. Starting to something drive in the back there. Starting to fizzle up a bit. We've gone 5-6 to 2-5. It's now 9 minutes gone. In the kick coming out from Benny Hanna. The second quarter. Benny Hanna right there. Thompson always going to circle the ground. He's got an open paddock as he drives towards the top. Oh! 3 points to beat.
Johnny taking grabs outside the goal square.
And Johnny, nice like gripping the ball. 20 metres out, JB. He's got rid of the ponytail this week. He's saying he's got the Rasputin.
Yeah, I reckon he must give it a bit of a conditioner. It's a bit soft.
And he's got the beard as well, the big number 5 for Torrens Valley. Talk us through it, Timmy.
This is going to get him up and about as the big fella push this through.
Let's have a look at the celebration.
25 out. Slow, steady.
JB. Boris. Straight through the middle.
Oh! And there's the
Just a high point there from Johnny. Made sure the hair was nicely firmed as well. He gave the high fives to Benny Hanna.
I had a Chunga bloody, because my housemate, my brother-in-law's cousin, he said that Chunga were rugby. Yeah, they were pretty interested, so...
The fur is set to fly in this week's Hills
Good deck out there. What's the bike? There's plenty of space for you to
I love Chunga.
The Torrens Valley Lions at Balhanna Oval.
Dar Whitener. Goldie, you're just back from the huddles. I could imagine one side would have been right up and about, and the other side, well, they're just going to play it for some pride.
Well, yeah, he's demanded a response. After 6 years as coach, I dare say, well, from the vibe of the group, he is the most disappointed he's been so far.
He'd be pretty disappointed with that, as David Hackett, easiest as he just gathered the ball and eventually just dribbled it over the line there. And that's his 5th goal for the afternoon. And the 17th for Harndorf. They move along to 17 goal 13. The 3 goal 10.
I don't know what's this is.
So I think that's out to 87 points now.
Just the look of the whole entire team here, Pistols. It's just
the Tide team.
Oh, Torrens Valley. They just don't look like it, do they?
No, as I said to you, halfway through the 2nd quarter, they seem to be a little bit tired and flat, and playing a side coming off the bye, but just the body language isn't.
Yeah, the body language is just poor.
But what we're talking about over in Eyre Peninsula is different. Homegrown to be flown back from college or their jobs in Adelaide to make them make it a stronger competition. Pumping more money from where it is, certainly if you're talking about the AFL, they're doing it right, pumping money into small clubs to be able to pay more players to come home. It would be their job to sort of even out the competition, and they have a kitty of money to support grassroots footy. You know, actually paying players. I mean, they wouldn't do it because the idea, oh, you're going to pay mercenaries, that sort of thing. They wouldn't do it, but it would work.
Well, 2017, Ports flew a couple of guys home.
And played juniors here.
Played all their juniors here and so forth. So it was a kick and a catch with their old mates, and they won.
And they won. Good on them.
Yeah.
With all their own homegrown.
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much. You know, a couple of floaters that come through employment-wise and whatever, but, you know.
Yeah, well, look, they won the flag a few years ago, which was a great thing, really, for their club. And that year was a very even comp.
My brother Sid, who decided to come home on the farm that year, so he was come straight out of the Port Magpies, and, you know, his next game was for us, so a few things sort of fell into line, didn't it?
Yeah. Eastern Eyre numbers around the footy have been good. They've been beating Great Flinders ball. Rakawasa gets a tap now. Goes down to Wycamp. Wycamp gets it on to...
Clay Smith had the ball, took it to Jake Bruce, who brings the ball in.
Looking for... Oh, good mark. Yes, the big fella. Big fella, Sid Masters, reels on his left. Looking for Berger. Puts it out in front of him. Lovely kick. Yeah, beautiful kick. That's 2 in a row he's done there. Big Sid Masters looking for Berger. Coming out, leading strongly. His direct opponent fell over, gave Berger an easy mark. Now he'll have a shot about 20 metres out, an important kick with a quarter nearly gone.
But you still only finished 3rd.
Yeah, we did only finish 3rd. We beat everyone during the year. It was a real 4-team comp, but it was really close year that you didn't know who was going to win on the day, did you?
No, it was great.
Everyone beat everyone that year. It was
great for competition.
Yeah, well, that year in itself was probably the best. For a 4-team comp, each side can beat each side.
Yeah.
And that hasn't been the case all the time. You know? There's a gap between top and bottom, if you know what I mean. It might be a bit of a mix up in the middle, but...
Luke Harfield, another ex-local from Port Nile, he flew from Adelaide every week into Lincoln, stayed with Adam, come down and played, and he actually won best on in the grand final.
Ladies and gentlemen, Luke Harfield. Apparently you spent a bit of time here 2017.
Yeah, in and out.
In and out?
Every week, pretty much. Obviously, it worked out well. The year I went back, the same thing, they recruited quite well, and a couple of my mates ended up going back there, Matt Parker, and yeah.
Fantastic day here at Cow. We're lucky to play in a really well-run league, led by Spud and co.
We might only have a 4-team comp, but the standard of footy that gets played is pretty bloody good, I reckon, so...
What about the idea of money going into those smaller clubs from the AFL to bring their homegrown back?
Local lads back, yeah.
If the lads are prepared to do it, and if they had the money there to... This is not for the Kimbas of the world, who are travelling pretty well, but so Kimba's got better competition.
Yeah.
And of course the AFL's got a bit of money.
Just a little bit. They could probably poke a bit out over here.
And of course, Lindsay Thomas, great to see someone like Lindsay come back to the club, and of course, out here for the Eastern Eyre guys, we've got the 2 Rakawasa brothers as well, Isaiah and Aziri, so it was terrific. It's terrific to see those players coming back to the Bendigo Bank Mortlock Shield.
Yeah, I really like that rule that's been brought in, and it gives a chance for also a lot of these guys to play with their mates that they grew up with. I was talking to Isaiah and Aziri, and getting to play with the likes of Wade Mason and Jack and the boys that they went to school with was
was really good for them, and it's something that they're really enjoying being home for, and it's also good for the spectators seeing the best players going around as well, Beebs.
Yeah.
There's a lot of kids coming up through. It's going to be a struggle for the club to keep seniors alive and keep enthusiasm, I guess, is that's the main thing. But there has been another one said, well, why doesn't Lock join Eastern Eyre? So it'll give them 5 teams and it'll give Great Flinders 5 teams, and then everyone gets a bye.
Correct way.
That's another way, and that strengthens up this competition but gives Great Flinders a bye. Now, I don't know whether that's a good idea or not, but it would certainly a bit more longevity in this competition up here.
Well, the thing is that with Lock, it's geographically possible to do anything you want.
That's right.
And I guess our whole perspective on it from Eastern Eyre is trying to make all clubs stronger and communities stronger by that interrelationship that we could have.
Well, significantly they are talking to you.
Yeah, with football and netball. So, look, I think out of all of it, that's the most important thing, to start somewhere where you can sit down and talk about it. You know, there's going to be issues, there's no doubt about that, of how it could work.
Because that's a green light.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm a part of that. I was the president of the Lock Football Club. Yeah. So there's obviously been discussion about that, and that's something that Eastern Eyre are proposing to Great Flinders at the moment. We'll put to them for a discussion, I guess. And
how are those discussions progressing?
Well, we've decided to hear what Eastern Eyre have to offer. At this stage, that's really all that it is. Is at that stage to look at where things are at, and it's not so much where things are at now, but you know, how are things going to look in 5 years' time, 10 years' time. Nobody really has the answer to that. So.
Yeah, so we sit down with Great Flinders and football and netball and talk about things, and it is, as Gus said, it is about what's going to be in the future is a big thing, because none of us know what could happen, and the landscape is changing. So I think it's a positive thing to be able to sit down and talk anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that's about all you've heard, or?
Yeah, no, that's all I've heard. I mean, all clubs are doing it tough. And I don't know. You know, where we're going to be in 5 or 10 years, I don't know.
All clubs know they're struggling for numbers, and as just said there from Gus, the population decline is clearly evident. So, as I said, it's about trying to make all clubs stronger, not to see clubs fold. So that's our point of view. So we'll try and encourage that.
It probably would be a fair question as where's Lock going to be in 5 years' time, in Great Flinders or a different league? Because geographically you've played in about 3 or 4 over
Yeah, we have over the years. Well, Lock aren't looking to move anywhere, and Lock is one of those clubs, and like a lot of clubs, I guess, have struggled for a long time, and we've thought at different times, well, you know, things weren't looking great in terms of numbers, but we've found a way to survive and continue on, and we're still looking to do that. I don't have the answers to where we're going to be in 5 years' time, but the reality is that all clubs are finding it harder and harder with a population decline, particularly up country.
It is what it is, isn't it?
That's the reality. So, you know, what we do about that.
Yeah, well.
So I guess by talking to Eastern Eyre, there's no harm in that. We don't see there's any harm in that. And looking towards the future of football and netball on the Eyre Peninsula.
And one last thing, I did hear a suggestion, well, there was several years ago, it was suggested that all the leagues play 2 rounds. You probably heard this yourself, and then they have like a, if you like, a conference championship sort of round there at the end. What do you think of that idea?
Look, I think any idea needs to be considered. I think what we've traditionally known as sport on the Eyre Peninsula, I mean, we want to hold on to what we've got now, for sure, but we also want to do what we can to continue to have sport on the Eyre Peninsula, and the reality is that may not stay the way it is right now forever. So,
but you want to keep all the clubs, it's just a matter of what format.
The clubs for small country towns are vital for survival of communities, and that's what we're fighting to maintain. So I think all options need to be looked at, and whilst they may not look or seem to be a reality or a good idea right now, into the future, who knows where, you know, what things will look like in a few years' time.
What you've got now works. Like it's worked, it's been successful for 20, 30 years, so you want to hang on to it. But
as it's set up at the moment, it's not working.
It works as it is until
it doesn't.
When you haven't got enough people to make it work.
Which is where we are at the moment. Yeah. I mean, that idea has been around for a few years, I gather.
But the one where you're talking about having the conferences where you play your normal round for 2/3 of the year and then a combined comp for 1/3 of the year, you know, maybe that's easing into it rather than going full tilt with no option of return as it's been proposed.
Well, if you're talking about that American major sports all work on a system where they set up where they have a call it a division to start with, and that's of 4 or 5 teams, and they play a little division
with minimal travelling.
And this is the big leagues in America, big money. Well, and because of the travel involved, that's right. So they played a local season for a pennant, which is what they call it, of course. Are they going to be in the pennant race? It means how are they going to be competitive locally? How are the Yankees going to go against their local rivals, you know, Phillies and that. And then they have then they go to the, what do they call that, like a conference final?
Yeah, conference final then.
Well, basically the playoffs. Yeah, that's right. But if you had those two rounds there, and then they go as a club, and that's just sort out, you know, it's a club championship. So it's all the points from netball, football, everything added up.
Oh yeah.
And so you have, and that will just sort out, okay, who's going to be playing Division 1, who's going to be playing Division 2. And it also, because it means that you play locally, and Kimba plays Ports.
Yeah, that's different.
Locally.
Different setup. Yeah.
And they sort out, okay, where is everyone at the moment? And then they go, okay, you guys are going to play over here, you're going to play over here, you're going to play a grand final, you guys. Ports are going into Division 2 and they're going to be playing in a grand final. Well, you know, they're realistically going to have a shot at a grand final.
Yeah, and even that sort of thing could probably work the whole West Coast.
That's what I'm talking about. And, you know, you have Streaky Bay over there. At the moment, they don't want to go into Far West, but if they have whatever local competition they're going to have, and then they go and sort out who's the stronger teams, well, they are going to play each other, the stronger teams, and it's going to be a blockbuster whenever they travel.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it sounds a good setup to have, you know, everyone on board the two sort of different divisions, and yeah, you could have some blockbuster games for sure. So yeah.
You'd be guaranteed blockbuster games.
Yeah. And yeah, it's to Cummins. It's probably 2 hours, I suppose. So you know, it's not like you're travelling to Adelaide. It's a fair drive, but yeah.
Well, they will travel in big numbers to a big game.
Oh, they will. I mean, supporters are fairly loyal across all EP. They'll travel to watch their kids play and support their club. And
true,
I guess it's a challenge, that distance thing. I mean, we travel a fair bit anyway. And we're travelling a little bit further if when the change does happen, but that's something you just deal with. Now, whether you go by bus or what, I mean, that may happen now and again, but I think you will still have families travelling down the road because the kids, a lot of senior players have kids playing, so you know, pretty hard to pack them all on the bus and away you go.
Well, one thing about having divisional series is that that would open up the possibility of holding them at neutral venues. You get what I mean?
Yeah, that's for sure.
And if you had you could work it out so that everyone was happy. You know, sharing revenues and
right.
Because everyone's sharing it around. That way you could actually have, well, where would be a middle point? I mean, even playing games at Cleve would be probably. Well, that's a terrific bloody game.
I mean, we used to when Eastern Eyre first started, we used to play our final series, grand finals there for the first. I think it might have been 5 or 6 years or something like that. So
it's even better now.
Yeah, that's right. And as I keep stirring them up, we look forward to come down and beat them with their new club rooms there. Look, it's always been a good venue to play at. So I think, you know, those sort of ideas will happen as we go forward, you know, because it's a bit like what we do with interleague footy right now. If we're hosting a league, we try and have it so they're not travelling as far, you know, and that's what you do to look after those who've got to travel, not only come over, but they've got to travel home. So yeah, all those ideas will come up, I'm sure.
Yeah.
If
it would be interesting, yeah.
If you were doing it for a blockbuster, you might
yeah,
do it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
and if you know, you could still get buses organised, I guess, for the team, I suppose. But
people organise buses for grand finals.
More, yeah. I guess out here it's more the family thing, so everyone goes, so yeah.
That's right. And they might travel by buses and whatever to get there. If it's a really big game like Ramblers versus Kimba, it's going to be huge. You know, Yolanda versus Kimba, imagine how mouth-watering people will go to that. But Kimba playing lock is going to be a different kind of draw card.
But then, has it ever happened before? That would be the thing. That would be the
American Major League Sports is your example.
And if Kimba have played maybe trial games or something like that, but
well, it also opens up the possibility of having neutral venues. I mean, you've got Cleve there as a magnificent venue, as a traditional interleague venue. If you're only doing it for a blockbuster that's going to pull in 2,000 people, as opposed to
then you say double headers and stuff like that.
And then you've got double headers you can talk about. If it's money is going to make it work, well, let's make it a blockbuster. But how long ago was it that sort of proposal was first suggested?
Oh, yeah, I found it in old minutes I had when I took on the umpiring boss job, and I reckon it'd be 5 or 6 years ago. That was, yeah.
And that was raised at an EP meeting or a league meeting?
Yeah, be an EP. No, I'm not sure. Yeah, and that's where I found that scenario for the split round type thing with Great Flinders. But yeah, it's a few years ago now.
The idea of having, you know, a bit what we're talking about. You play a comp of about 4 or 5 teams, which is what they play, and then they go into a conference final sort of situation. So the bigger clubs, and then so each year it'd be pretty much the same.
Yeah.
But that way you're only travelling for blockbuster games.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought. I mean, the thing that you have to be mindful of is that whilst you have some football clubs may be stronger or weaker, for example, you play the strong against strong. Your netball, half of your club, your netball might be very strong. So if you know what I mean. So they travel together. So if you might have 2 clubs that are weaker in their football play one another, but you might have one club that's very strong in the netball. So it's how you marry it all together. But
well, those first 2 rounds, just like you say, could be a club championship. You know how they do a club championship? They do it every year.
Yeah, I think there's all sorts you can look at, and I've always been
total it over everything.
Yeah, I've been
Juniors,
a believer of perhaps there should have been some inter-club football. So that the premiers last year were us, Kimba, and we played the premiers in Great Flinders League for points or something. Just an interchange like that, and Ports played lock, or just marry the clubs up. To have things like that, something you've got to spice up the competitions. You've got to try and get people there that want to come to the football and netball, and by having games that are probably more competitive and with a bit more excitement, you're going to attract more people. I think that's the big thing hitting most clubs and leagues on EP is the fact that there's not a lot of people at football and netball anymore.
And that's simply because your geographical problem is not so much that you haven't got clubs and that you haven't got populations, but it's just that you tend to have a big population and then smaller satellite communities around it.
Yeah.
And if you're talking an end of the year series where the big boys just travel to really find out who's top dog, and you know what I mean, it's a club championship and then they all go in as a club into that final round because of what they're really playing for then is because they're all going to play finals, yeah?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So you're talking about who's going to play who when it comes to finals, and of course people do travel to different places for finals.
Yeah.
So it's not really an issue splitting up because you're all playing as a club in that initial championship round. So.
No, I think it's all those things are worthy of talking about because that's what we're trying to look at, the future of football and netball. So I don't think you sit around the table and say, no, I don't like that idea, or no, this is no good. I think you've got to probably forget what's happened in the past a bit. This is about young people making a decision going forward. So how do I say it without offending anybody? But people my age or older that have been involved with clubs, unless a lot of people don't like change. I'm passionately for it because I've been through one amalgamation already. But for the future of clubs and communities, I think it's something we have to look forward to and let the younger ones that are involved with the clubs playing and get them to make the decision what they want to do going forward. Because other ones are going to have to drive it. As I said to our club at the recent AGM, as I stepped down from president, I will follow them anywhere, but they've got to make the decision on what they want. So, and I think that's important with all clubs, that the young people have a say as to the future.
Well, you want to keep I guess you've got two choices. Either you can keep the format that you've got and do away with a couple of clubs, like go from 10 down to 8, which is what that option is saying. Or you can keep all your clubs and be flexible with your format.
That's right.
And sacrifice some of those traditions rather than sacrificing clubs.
That's what I believe. I don't want to see any clubs be sacrificed, because every club has a history, and you've got to respect that history. And in recent times, you've seen all these clubs that have played 100 years of football, which I think is amazing. But in that 100 years of football, there's 100 years of opposition.
That's right.
So you know, you've always got to have someone to play against. So for me, it's fine if you're winning by 20 or 30 goals every week, but what does that achieve?
And you don't want to do that all season. I mean, if we're talking to say, if you had 2 rounds for Ports and Cow to have a shot at you, because Ports played some good footy games.
My word, and Cow hit the, struggled this year, but over the years, Cow have been very strong. We've had some great clashes with them in finals. Oh yeah, they've beaten us, and we've had some great clashes with Cow over the years. So, and every club has its cycle. So, and whilst as Gus said then, that the Lock Club was struggling, they're trying to find ways of getting stronger. Well, all clubs are trying to do that. Yeah, and I think the discussions we have going forward is about trying to see whether it can help clubs get stronger and stay alive and attract more people to football, because it really is changing. And football and netball seems to be fairly strong. We've got a lot of girls. Yeah, a lot of numbers there, but it's a major part of your club.
They've still got to go together.
You're a husband and wife team, so you've got to make sure you look after one another. Otherwise, the feedback.
One of the best things about country footy is.
Otherwise, you get your ears clipped.
Yeah, the men and women go together. What would you think about Dark Peak Waikiki reforming?
I don't think Dark Peak Waikiki will reform. They haven't got enough players, or what is the word? They've just got enough numbers down.
Well, that's right. But what I was, just to explain, what I was getting to there, is the idea of having an area carved off of your catchment to feed that club, which is a great club, great tradition. And that would be better for your competition.
Yeah, it's pretty hard. I think it comes back to the numbers game, and when you look at Dark Peak Waikiki, they were so much talent in that club. It's unbelievable, really. When we're in the early days that we played against them, and then of course now
Barry Hutchins, John Humphreys, but sorry, it could go on. But anyway,
Brett Chalmers, when he was a 16-year-old, we could kick a country mile when he was playing in the first year. But I think, when you look at how it's all broken up now, a lot of the Dark Peak guys playing it for the Rangers as well. So I'm just not sure. I don't think that there's the numbers to back another club like that because of what it is these days. And of course, I've heard it before about people saying, we should be less teams, more clubs. But the reality is, for all of us, you need volunteers to run a game on a Saturday. So if you open up more clubs, you need more volunteers. And that's just as big an issue with country clubs as what the volunteer numbers.
Player numbers.
Yeah, my word, because I think the Sanford did a thing, you need about 70 people to run a day. And so if you start up other clubs, you're going to need a lot of people to run those days. Regardless whether you're running one team or 10 teams, you still need your catering, you still need your band umpire, central. So to me, I don't think it'll ever go back to having more clubs.
Because like you say, volunteer numbers do dictate.
Of course they do, yeah. And I mean, if you went to every club on Eyre Peninsula and asked the people that are there working week in, week out, they get worn out. It's reality, and it's just a bigger issue as what player numbers are.
Good point. No, good point.
Following on from what we've just seen on the screen, I think that we will join another league in the next 2 or 3 years. There's certainly moves being mooted to do that, and I think we will go out as towns. It'll be certainly Kimba will be able to have a team, probably bolstered by some lads from Darks Peak, Wadiki, if they want to. Cleve and surrounding district, Eastern Rangers, will probably have a team bolstered by what's left of Ports when they've disbanded, which in my humble opinion I think they will. Their numbers are getting just slowly depleted. So, but I think it's inevitable. Whether we like it or not, I think we will.
Well, that's why Kimba's so desperate really to find more people to play, because that's what you're running out of opponents.
Yes, and that, yeah, you're right. So we will. There certainly is move to go to Great Flinders, and there's been talks all year, and I think probably within a couple, 2 or 3 years, I think we'll be playing against them.
What about the idea that, which was on the table about 5 or 6 years ago, of having all the competitions pretty much as they are played 2 rounds and then divide into conferences for the big final series based on performance in those 2 rounds? That way, teams would Kimba would only be going to Cummins for a really big game.
Yes, understand.
But going to Lock is not going to be the same sort of thrill.
No.
For that sort of thing.
Yeah, no, I think that perhaps, I think we'll play under the auspices of the leagues as we are, and I think that what will happen is, to make it more interesting, I think the players and netballers will go via bus. I think that will be the way to go, and the supporters will follow suit in their cars if they wish. And
it was certainly.
I think that I'd prefer to see a normal round, you might say, minor round plus major round finals, but that will be up to the administrators.
Well, it's only an idea that was tabled, so at least sort of it's officially part of the thinking process. But if you just like the American system with all the American sports, that's what they do. The New York Yankees plays the same division.
Yes.
Which, if you look at it, Great Flinders play all each other, and then you end up with possibly Lock. And if Air United still survive, then they're obviously on their performance, they're going to go into a weaker conference for the finals. But then they play a 1 round, they all play once each as a club, so it's not like going to different venues, but you play on the strength of the clubs, and that way you're saying automatically less travel, and you're only travelling for really good games.
Yeah, it'd be like an upper and lower division, really.
Yeah, and so you would mean that Ports would have grand finals and possibly even conference championships to look forward to.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's always good that if people are prepared to speak anyway, and
well, here we go
on the issues. We know the landscape is changing and things are changing, so I guess only time will tell where it all ends up in the future.
Yeah. Well, as long as there is football and netball.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.